Sovereign Metals has announced the results of graphite test work completed at multiple independent laboratories. To find out what the collective findings are, I'm delighted to be joined by Chief Commercial Officer Sapan Ghai. So Sapan, what did the results demonstrate, and were there surprises to the upside?
Lots of surprises, Sarah. I think these results have really honed in on just what a discovery we had made back in 2019 and just how good Kasiya is. It's without kind of tempting fate, it's really ticking all the boxes. What did the results demonstrate? Essentially 4 key takeaways. Number one, we managed to get within the labs graphite concentrate averaging over 97%. What does that mean? Graphite concentrate is usually between 94 to 98%. Every percentage increase increases the actual product price by about $40-50. So 97% is really at the premium end of concentrate specification. The second key takeaway, we had recoveries exceeding 90%. So given that in our pre-feasibility study from last year, we had modeled something like below 70% recovery, bearing in mind that graphite is a byproduct of our rutile deposit. Getting recoveries exceeding 90% is really quite something. The third point is around the actual grade. Now, the graphite itself at Kasiya is considered quite low grade compared to our peers. The reality is the graphite is a byproduct, so the grade in the ground is less relevant to us. What's relevant is once we've processed the ore, taken away the rutile, which is our primary product, what is the grade within that, the remainder of the material? And what we found was that grade was more like 4%. And after the first round of flotation, we actually got rid of 90% of waste materials, and we averaged a grade of 55%, which is just absolute knockout. And look, the fourth and final key takeaway is low impurities, low sulfur, which is exactly what's required for graphite to work well within a battery.
So why did you use so many laboratories? Do they specialize in different observations? Because this sounds like an expensive approach.
Yeah, so what we did was essentially all labs did the exact same circuit work. We used laboratories in Canada, South Africa, Australia. The last thing we want to do is to put out a product that may or may not work, may have worked in one lab and not another. For us to have a very strong conviction that our product is good enough for our future customers, off-takers, end users, we used a variety of labs to do the same work, and they all came back with pretty much the same set of results, which is a big tick in the box for us.
Because I was going to ask, what can these laboratories do that your existing laboratory facility in Malawi can't?
Yeah, so the main thing that they can do is our labs set up in Malawi, in Lilongwe, is essentially set up to produce rutile concentrate samples. So we take some ore samples from Kasiya, we take them to the lab, we put them through essentially a screening process, a shaking table, which separates heavy from minerals from light minerals. And then the heavy minerals is where the rutile sits, because it's a heavy dense material. It's essentially titanium, and graphite is very light. Now, the rutile we put through a magnetic screen, and that leaves us with a 95% rutile, essentially a product that we can then provide to off-takers and users, to other labs, to ensure the commercial viability of that product. On the graphite side, up until now, we'd have this pre-concentrate, which we then send to the labs. And this is exactly what the labs had from us. And this is what they produced, the graphite concentrate, which would be our end product. We are in the process of thinking about setting up those stages, that flotation circuit within our lab, but it's TBD as of now.
Okay, because I was going to ask, how are you going to use this intelligence in terms of cementing partnerships and reassuring stakeholders?
Yeah, so if we can essentially go to potential battery makers, car manufacturers, financiers, with a graphite product that's been tried and tested, can be produced using a very low risk process, and can do so without any stoppages to supply, that's a very strong case to cement our position within the battery grade graphite supply chain. And those are the exact boxes that we are ticking with all this work.
And are any more tests required for validation?
So I think you'll hear from us about some electrochemical test work that a laboratory in Germany, Pro Graphite, are doing for us. What they're doing is the next stage, which is taking the graphite concentrate and seeing, once you produce an anode out of it, how that works within a battery. And where we should be getting those results pretty soon. And those will be quite important in our discussions with future off-takers.
Okay, so finally, the tests have confirmed Sovereign's ability to produce a high-quality graphite concentrate. So what are the next steps? How does it all factor into the scope of work, the flow sheet?
Yeah, so now that we know what the graphite can do within a flotation circuit, we'll look at, as I alluded to, we'll look at maybe bringing that on board at our lab in Malawi. We'll look at building out our processing capabilities there. A few weeks ago, we announced that we had procured a new spiral concentrator. That should be on its way to Malawi quite soon. And essentially all of this will feed into optimizing all the assumptions we had made in the PFS, which will then flow into a definitive feasibility study, all in the same time, providing us with a lot of empirical data on exactly how our product works once mined, once processed, and what our end users would essentially get once we're in full production.
And a cheeky PS, why would investors invest in sovereign metals now?
Look, I guess in terms of next steps and news flow coming up, we have some drill results. We continue to drill north of the current resource. We should have those coming out in the next week or so. We'll have the Pro Graphite electrochemical test work as well, and we'll see what that gives us, hopefully to the upside. We continue discussions with potential off-takers. There's a lot going on the ground as well, as you've probably seen from our recent RNSs, and we'll continue to update the market on our progress as we continue this optimization phase alongside our partners Rio Tinto.
Sapan, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure.